Travis, my good soul. In the previous video, I demonstrated in the thumbnail picture that I'm a translator. In Mosiah, chapter 8, Ammon is talking with the king of the Lamanites, a king of the Lamanites. It's actually Limhi, isn't it? People who are in the land of Zarahemla. Oh, wait, that's Moroni. It's most likely Limhi because they found the 24 plates of Coriantumr. Or was it ether? Coriantumr was the stone that he carved on. Gotta get it right. Don't want to be wrong about the Book of Mormon. And so he's asking Ammon if he can translate or if he knows anybody who can translate him. Because they're in Egyptian, the same language that they speak. And so he says, yeah, I know a guy. And he says that he's got a gift from God. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Translated by the gifted power of God. And it's called interpreters, in this case, rather than a Urim and Thummim. And no man can look in them, except he be commanded, lest he should look and go blind from born. Same is called a seer. And so, the king said that a seer sounds greater than a prophet. Ammon said a seer is a revelator and a prophet also. And a gift which is greater can no man have. Okay? Can know of the past, present, and the future. So let's take a look at this Urim and Thummim thing in Abraham. Is it 1? No, it's 3. I knew that. Alrighty, so after wanting to be a high priest, after the order of Ammon, the Egyptian sun god at noonday, Abraham now has the Urim and Thummim, which the Lord my God had given to me in Ur of Chaldees, which is in Egypt. Why do Mormon apologists miss this? It's right there in the text. And so, with the Urim and Thummim, he saw the stars, signs in the heavens. Okay? So that's a seer, revelator, prophet, and translator. Joseph Smith. So we learn more about this from section 107, verse 91 and 92. And again, the duty of President Russell Marion Nelson, of the office of the President of the Quorum of the 12, not the President of the Church, is to preside over the whole church and to be like unto Moses. Nelson doesn't claim this. He claims Peter, which is seer in Egyptian. But that's translator. I bow to Nelson's translation powers. I mean, he speaks and it's changed in the manuals. There has never been the existence of a chief cornerstone of a cornerstone until Nelson said it at the pulpit of conference. Never has there been any interpretation and translation of the Jews of Israel as let God prevail until Nelson said it at the pulpit of conference. The master translator, better than the Jews and the Egyptians. So yeah, you're supposed to be a seer, revelator, translator. Pay attention. Well, you can't. You got to go back to the older stuff because you're about to die. And so I'm about to demonstrate the mighty power of Joseph Smith for you, as you're already offended and left. You saw the picture. You don't believe. You don't want an explanation. You want to be saved in ignorance. So facsimile number 1, Joseph Smith is saying that Abraham is getting sacrificed by the wicked high priest. And so Mormon apologists, they try to prove that it's literal history true. Despite Egyptologists saying, what? Egyptologists don't know everything. I just did the video the other day, and I've been referring to it at least 2 times, I think, in which I talked about an Assyrian story in which, in the midst of a battle, Armageddon, Jesus comes from out of the sky in the midst of the battle. His second coming before he was even born. As non-Trinitarian Jesus. But it was the concept that they had, which the Egyptians, they got it from them. They stole it. Assyria is plagiarized. That the sun is a source of symbolic power in that it reveals Scripture to the observer. Urim and Thummim. And so when the sun is eclipsed, this is a bad omen in which it's understood as referring to government, the death or collapse of the king or the kingdom. And so kings don't like to see solar eclipses. And they purposely have high priests who do astronomy charts to check to make sure that everything is kosher. Before the Jews created kosher? And so, yeah, in this particular case, because a total solar eclipse occurred, the king panicked and had a regular Assyrian slave be king for a day and gave him a wife and all. Yep. And then he was murdered after that to appease the sign in the heavens in the likeness of things on the earth, which you'll find in the Joseph Smith translation, Revelation chapter 12, verse 1. That's how they do these facsimiles. And I had done a book translating all of this years ago. So I don't remember which book I would have put in a total solar eclipse for this facsimile number 1. But I know, well, I might have described facsimile number 2 as an annular eclipse. But I never did connect facsimile number 3 with a solar eclipse. But I did get it correct with the marriage scene, because I didn't know about the second and third day of darkness for the latter days. Hadn't found them yet. I only knew about the Lion King. This was years and years ago. And so you see in facsimile number 1, a lion couch. And so, yes, Leo the lion is the celestial representation of the altar lion couch. And so when you try to prove that this is literal history, you're looking beyond the mark. You got to think in terms of the big picture of Joseph's mindset here. You know, when you tell somebody that you're Latter-day Saints, you got to give a date. I mean, 200 years, and Mormons still have yet to know if we're in the latter days, other than Nelson coming out in a pulpit of conference and saying, these are the latter days. Well, yeah, Joseph said that too. It doesn't mean anything to Mormons, because they don't understand of who they're supposed to be listening to. Hint, hint. And so a sacrifice is a solar eclipse. And so Abraham, as Melchizedek, is Pharaoh. And so Pharaoh is on the lion couch. And sure enough, yeah, Osiris. Pharaoh, the first Pharaoh of all Egypt. This is the first solar eclipse of the latter days. Joseph knew exactly what he was doing to put these in the order that they were put in. Because the hypocephalus, facsimile number 2, is a separate document, and the 2 papyri are separate also. And so for Joseph to put these in the order that he put them in, he knew exactly what he was doing. Because he already demonstrated that he knew the dates of the latter days with the Book of Mormon and 64 was 1831. So yeah, he did know. And yeah, the Joseph Smith translation also was done before. So yeah, he knew. And so this is a solar eclipse in the constellation of Leo, the lion. Do you see how that works? Sacrifice of a king, solar eclipse. Lion, altar, constellation of Leo. Solar eclipse in Leo. So you can use your Urim and Thummim and go back and check all of them, but we've got 2 more. There are 3 days of darkness. There are 3 facsimiles. Guess what he's referring to? So yes, it's 21st of August, 2017. In the constellation of Leo, right next to the star Regis. Pretty cool. And so this also indicates that the Egyptians knew this too. Not necessarily from facsimile number 1, per se. They did know and taught to the Assyrians who plagiarized it about the deaths of kings and solar eclipses. So here you have a sacrifice of a king, the King of Kings, Lord of Lords, Trinitarian Jesus, on the lion couch. And so yes, the Egyptians, as part of the volumes of books of translation for this one facsimile, would be this. Signs in the heavens are part of the translation. And another version from Scripture relating to this is what that was the first one I knew. And I did publications on that too, years ago. It's Abraham sacrificing Isaac. Goes to Utah to set up the altar, and then he's about to stab him, and a messenger of the gods comes and says, "Well done, thou good and faithful servant. Here's a ram also referred to as a lamb, because as they're going up to the mountains of Utah to dwell, Isaac is saying, where's the lamb, Daddy? We need a lamb. And so lamb, it's the same thing. It's the constellation of Aries. And so you have Aries that is used as the sacrifice. That's the constellation of Aries. Lamb used. Then you have the firstborn birthright blessing son being sacrificed. Solar eclipse in Aries. And Mercury, the messenger of the gods, is in conjunction. So now you can get your Urim and Thummim out, look it up, and it just happens to be 8 April 4 CE. 600 years from the time Lehi left Jerusalem, assuming it's literal history, in 597 BCE. And 20 years later, the Book of Mormon's telling you when you were supposed to leave on the Exodus and you missed it. Your Christ parted the waters and you missed it. Your Christ stood before Pharaoh's court and you missed it. Your Christ warned you about creeping death and you missed it. Where was I? I forgot. 20 years later, Lehi leaves. 2020. It's also the 50th Jubilee year of his actual birth, and so on, and other stuff. But and so 8 April 2024 is the third day of darkness for the latter days that wraps it all up. Yeah, next year. The exact same day. Like I said, the Smiths knew. And they were trying to tell us. Or they were trying to tell the man like Moses Christ of Mormons who has the gifts. And then he would tell you in a video on YouTube. And then you won't listen to him because it's already 18 minutes in. You're already offended with his personality. Would you be offended with Joseph Smith's personality? Oh no, we would never be offended with Joseph Smith's personality. He's a true prophet of Jesus, Trinitarian, non-Trinitarian, I mean. Right. So, facsimile number 2. Most Egyptologists would say that this is in the shape of an eye that's dilated. There's others who would say it represents the sun. I have not heard anybody talk about a annular eclipse. If there are, great, good for you, but not a single one of them, and I'm pretty confident on this, ties it to the second day of darkness prophesied in all of Scripture, at least in Samson, the Sun King, where deaths occur with the Sun King. Yes, he gives the 3 days of darkness too, the day and the hours, and the location on Earth. In case you hadn't been watching my channel, solar eclipses are a specific day and year and location on Earth because they cast a shadow as the moon is eclipsing it. And so yes, we now know that despite the scriptures talking about Jerusalem, talking about Egypt, talking about the Philistines, talking about somewhere else in the world. When they use the solar eclipse, we now know exactly where they're talking about. And in this particular case, all of prophecy says United States of America. And so, yes, 14 October 2023, Samson's first wife is burned. The church. The fall of the great and abominable church, the abomination of desolation. The day that shall burn as an oven. And the Mormons get burned by they that come to burn them. Got to pay attention to Joseph. He's trying to warn you. Especially the Christ who you rejected. For non-Trinitarian Jesus, the one true idol God. So yeah, annular eclipse placed in the second position. And then, the final one, facsimile number 3. For this, we'll refer to more scripture for you. Revelation chapter 19. Wedding supper, feast of the Lamb at the temple. Because you got to combine it with Joseph Smith's Doctrine and Covenants, section 58. But there's some fun stuff in here to let you know that it's Emmanuel. Blessed are they which are called unto the marriage supper of the Lamb. Oh, Lamb? So Emmanuel would be in the Lamb constellation of Aries. But there's this flying horse in outer space. The white horse prophecy. Where is it? Come on. There's the angel standing in the sun. There's his eyes as a flame of fire with a name that no man knew, because it's Emmanuel. There's the white horse. 11. And I saw heaven opened. Sign in the heavens, guys. And the white horse. The solar eclipse. Flame of fire. He that sat on it. The sun. With the angel standing in the sun. That's on the white horse. Pisces. The fishies. 2 fishes, 5 loaves of bread. Yeah, that Jesus guy talking about Pisces and Virgo. Those are 2 birthdays. Pisces is the real birthday. Virgo is the latter-day start. And so there's 8 April 2024. 20 years later, after Abraham murders Isaac. Has the ram for dinner. And so yeah, 58 involves the temple and wedding supper, feast of the Lamb. This is the millennial reign of peace. This is where it begins. And in order to become the King of Kings, Lord of Lords, the great Melchizedek, the Pharaoh of the restored house of David Moses of the 18th dynasty of Egypt, he's got to be married. Easy breezy cover girl. So yeah, Abraham on the throne with Hatshepsut, Pharaoh of Egypt, standing behind him. I don't know why nobody knew that. I guess it takes a translator, doesn't it?